What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the first multi-platform live cast that we're doing. This live stream is being broadcast on Twitch, on Facebook, on YouTube. This is a new series that we're creating called Happy Monday, Happy Hour. It's really meant to be this variety show where every week we'll do something a little bit different. But this week we're kicking it off with a series called Conversations with Creators. And the whole idea is to have in-depth conversations with other content creators in this space, people that we work with, people that we want to work with, people that are really killing it out there, and learn a little bit about their journey and have them share a bit of information on how they got to where they're at. The first conversation we're going to have is with Saul Lopez. He is a buddy of ours who we've been working with for the past few years. He's an excellent DP, drone operator, editor, all around great content creator. And we're going to talk to him about his journey from being a school teacher to a world traveling content creator in just 3 years. That's quite an accomplishment to go from 0 to 100. And he's going to share a lot that I feel like you guys can really learn from. Let's get it started. Let's bring him in here. Yo.
Yo, what's up, man? How's it going?
Oh, what's good, bro? How are you?
Just chilling. Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course. What's going on? Where are you at right now?
Just at the crib. I'm in Los Angeles, obviously quarantined with everyone else, but we're in good health, good spirits, just getting this work in, so can't complain too much. What have you been up to?
Same stuff, man. Just trying to use this time to kind of innovate, to grow a little bit, to add to my skill set, do stuff like this, connect with more people, have more conversations. You know what it is.
No, yeah, I'm thoroughly impressed by all the platforms that this is on. I wasn't expecting all this, so it's really dope to be a part of it.
I know.
The first trial run, so I'm stoked.
Yeah, let's see how it goes. So far, so good, I think. Right, Hume?
Yeah.
Are all platforms running smoothly?
Yes.
Hume is over there monitoring all the platforms, making sure everything is good.
Hi, Hume.
But there are chats on each individual platform. You feel free to send us questions. We'll be able to answer them here today. What I would like to do is to stay away from the pandemic conversation. Let's come back to that at the end. Sure. I feel like every conversation I have right now starts with that. So let's just save that to the end and start with your and how you kind of got into what you do and walk us through the journey. I have some questions that I'll ask you along the way, and then we'll take some questions from the chat.
Yeah, no doubt. So
you said that you were a school teacher 3 years ago. So tell us how it all began.
Yeah, definitely. So I graduated from Pepperdine University in 2015. Just to give a little context, I was on a very financial analyst type route. My trajectory was to work in a corporate 9-to-5 office. But my senior year, I had a moment, an epiphany, and I was like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I had 2 classes left in my economics major, and I remember I called my mom from the school parking lot, crying. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. But I was the first person in my family to go to college. I grew up in a minority Hispanic household, so the path is just you go to college, you get your degree, and then you go work in an office. But after I graduated, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I enjoyed working with kids, so I decided to be a teacher. And I was a teacher actually here in Pasadena, in my hometown. So I was working with kids in the community that I grew up in. So I was really excited about that. And I spent 2 years there. And at the same time, on the side, I kind of picked up a camera just because I was watching this YouTuber videographer. His name is Rory Kramer. And I saw this music video that he did for Avicii. It was called The Nights. And I think I might have sent it to you after if you want to pull that up. But that video was really inspiring to me. It's just, I saw this guy traveling and doing cool things and making money off of it. And I never thought that would be possible. I didn't think that was a career path. So I remember I picked up a camera, just a little $300 Canon EOS SL1.
Hold on. Before you get to that. So before diving into picking up a camera, your trajectory was to work in finance.
Correct. Yeah. When I got to college, like I mentioned, I was the first person in my family to go to college. So I didn't really know what I wanted to study. I knew a lot of people studied business, and I was like, that just seems a little too mainstream for me. But economics is a nice little mixture of social sciences where you kind of still get to study human behavior, which is something that I knew I was interested, but I also was like, well, I want to make money. I want to study business. So I went the economics route.
So then you got into teaching. You were
Got
teaching
into
kids,
I
and
was
then
teaching
what?
kids. Yeah, so I was working in an independent studies classroom. So there was like 36 through 12th graders. And I remember one day I was in class, it was just like a very millennial type of moment. Like, I want to save the world. Like, I'm gonna take it over and do something good. I decided that I wanted to start a sock company. So I like socks with cool
A
designs on.
sock company.
Yeah, sock company. So I
Wow,
like
that came out of left field. I had no idea.
right,
Okay.
super random, but it'll make sense in the context of it. So I like socks with cool designs. I would show you right now, but I'm not actually wearing cool socks.
Come
I
on,
just
you
think they.
flex your leg up here.
Yeah, nah, it's all good.
God, just pop it up like this.
I'm literally wearing like ankle socks, so I'm not gonna put you
Are you
guys
wearing
through that.
pants even?
I am wearing shorts.
No, I
Business
don't
of
think I've ever
Black.
seen you wear pants. I feel like you always wear shorts. Even on shoots, you just pull up in shorts.
All right, I just
And the
take
shortest
California,
shorts I've ever seen.
that California lifestyle. I like to keep them above the knee
California.
too. Show off the long legs. I read that socks are some of the most under donated items that homeless shelters get. So I was like, cool, like, let me try to make this happen. I put it into action and I like sourced all these socks from Italy. I didn't have money really to pay anyone to start promoting or creating video content, photo content for me on Instagram or social media platforms. So I kind of used this inspiration that I got from these YouTubers that I was watching, like Rory Kramer and Casey Neistat. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to pick up my own camera and start making little short videos to help promote my sock company.
Yeah.
While I was making those promotional videos, like, my people started seeing them on Instagram, friends of friends started seeing them. And then I had friends asking me like, hey, can you come shoot a video for this? And then another friend was like, can you come shoot a video for this? So it slowly started snowballing into a little like side hustle.
That's what I tell people that want to get started too. It's like, find something that you really care about and then create content around that first.
Mm-hmm.
It'll teach you a lot. It'll teach you a lot about how to get started, how to tell stories, what equipment you should use, how to think about lighting, composition, all of that. Because if you really care about something, you're really going to put in the work and really going to think about it in a different way. And then from there, you can kind of move on to looking for client work. So
Yeah.
that was kind of your jumping off point. But
yeah.
Well, was there like one video that you did that like popped off, or one client that got you in the game? Like, how did you go from creating content for free by yourself to creating content for money for a brand or a company?
I quickly developed the idea that I wanted to shoot with artists, musicians. I love music. I grew up playing the violin, viola. I was in marching band, this for 10 years growing up. So I've always enjoyed music. So when I started shooting videos, I was like seeing like all these tour vlogs, and I was like, I want to do that. Like, I want to go on tour with Kanye West and shoot his videos and do all that. But I figured, yeah, exactly. I still do. So Kanye, if Kanye is watching, like, hit me up. But yeah, I figured that in order to get there, I needed to prove that I could even do something like that. I needed a proof of concept, if you will. So one of my friends, Veronica Oda, we went to high school together. She and her couple other friends had a little rock band, and had a gig here in Pasadena, a local gig. And I asked her, I was like, hey, I'm making videos on the side. Can I come do a little day in the life documentary for you and
the video?
And the guys? Yeah, this is the video that's playing on the screen right now.
So one of your first videos ever.
One of my first videos ever. It's not good. Shot on a $300 camera, a kit lens. So it's just like, it was a lot of grain. It was really dark in there, but it just allowed me to do something that I personally enjoyed doing and I wanted to do. Did it for free. So Veronica posted it on Facebook, and one of her mutual friends that she grew up with, Michelle Hanabusa, she was starting a clothing company here in Los Angeles, and she saw that video on Facebook, and she sent me an email. Veronica connected us, and she reached out to me and was like, hey, I am starting a clothing company and I need a videographer. Would you be interested in making my videos? And I was like stoked. I was like, absolutely, like, this would be super cool. I had already a little bit of experience from making the sock videos. Michelle was the first person that hired me and paid me to shoot a video. And it was pretty crazy just because I went into that shoot not expecting to get paid, not expecting to get money. She kind of pulled out an envelope halfway through the shoot and was like, hey, this is for you. And when I got back home, I showed my mom. I was like, "Hey, I can actually make money off of this." So it was kind of it was just like
around the camera, like,
exactly.
I actually know what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like to immigrant parents, that's like the big sell on what you want to do. Like, as soon as you start to make money doing something that they don't understand or they aren't familiar with fully, when they see the dollar signs, things shift a little bit in their mind, and I think they start to believe in you a bit more.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it actually, like all this fooling around for a year and a half making videos actually finally started paying off. So it just, yeah,
Well,
it's just
fooling around in her eyes, right?
correct.
The moment that you get your first paying gig is a pretty magical moment.
Yeah.
Like you've been doing all this work for so long, you know, grinding, hustling,
Yeah.
doing work for free, doing work for, you know, like no money for tons of people. And then all of a sudden, finally your work gets recognized. Finally, somebody is like, damn, this is great. I would love to pay you money to come shoot something for me. That was your first job. And the last thing I remember you doing was traveling to Europe, shooting fashion shows in Milan and Paris. And like, you know, how do you, I'd love to know, like, how do you get from shooting something for a local brand of your friend's friend to like traveling and going to Paris, shooting a fashion show?
Through that process of working with my friend Michelle and her clothing company, I was able to build a portfolio in fashion. I was shooting with her like almost every week, just making little videos for her shirts, the behind the scenes process of that. And I kind of just fell in love with fashion that way. And I got more integrated in the fashion creative community here in Los Angeles. But through that, I was on Instagram, I remember one day, and I follow this guy. His name's Dapper Lou on Instagram. He's also based in Brooklyn, actually, and he has his own studio. But I remember him posting on his Instagram story, and I'd been following him for a year at this point. And he said, we need a videographer for Fashion Week in February. Let me know if you're in New York. One of my really close friends lived in New York at the time. So I knew I could crash with him, and I was traveling to visit him every once in a while. So I reached out to him, I DM'd him, and I was like, hey, like I live in LA, but I can pay for my expenses, pay for my accommodations, but I'd love to be considered for the position. And he, to my surprise, replied. We had a meeting at his office, and we developed a relationship. And I remember right before we had that meeting, I had made a Jaden Smith inspired video. So this was kind of going back to my roots of just creating content for myself, and just because I enjoyed doing it. I love Jaden Smith, I love rap music, and I love his visuals. So I made this video that's showing on the screen right now. That's sort of inspired by his aesthetic. I got like the Tesla, the Model X. We shot it in Malibu. I got the pink sky. Lou saw this video, the Jaden Smith inspired video, right before we had our meeting, and he loved it. He thought it was super dope, and he felt like it fit the vibe that they were going for the Fashion Week recap videos. So that's how I landed that gig that was for February of 2018.
One of the most underrated things in the game is just reaching out. Like straight up, like reaching out with an idea, with a request, with a question. You'll be surprised how many people don't do it because they're like, oh, that person's never going to respond to me.
Right.
And the amount of times that I've just straight up cold emailed somebody or cold DM'd somebody and gotten a response that led to an actual opportunity is incredible. You know, the one thing I will say is that having a nice presentation of your work alongside that message is really important. Like, have a little deck together, or have a website, or something that you can direct people to with that message. So it's not just like, yo, what up, let's work, which, you know, which is not the approach. I get a lot of that. I get a lot of people being like, yo, what's good? You hiring? Can I shoot for you? That's not the way, bro. Like the way is to reach out and kind of talk about how you can add value to what it is that I'm doing, and packaging that with your content in a way that's beautiful and can be experienced very visually.
I think I learned that in college, which I am just coming to the realization. Just I think through
finance,
through finance and just looking for internships and stuff like that. They always encourage you to reach out to working professionals to learn more about them. And I was able to practice just sending a professional email and reaching out just on a cold whim, you know. So I think I learned that in college, but was able to translate it once I knew what my creative field was. And I think, like you mentioned, it's sort of a breath of fresh air when you have someone reach out to you professionally with materials to present, as opposed to just being like, yo, can I come work for you? And it's like, all right, well, what can you do? You know? And that's how we got connected, because I remember in that first Fashion Week that I shot in February, I told Ollie this. So Ollie's a part of Happy Monday for anyone that doesn't know. But
he's in the chat somewhere.
Yeah, I used to, and I told this. I used to see Ollie at every show, because I was shooting like 8 shows a day that year, or that season, and I just wanted to approach him, like, because I would see him everywhere, but he just had this resting bitch face the entire time, and I was super intimidated by Ollie. And I was like, yo,
that's hilarious. Yeah, I hope he's in here watching this right now.
I was like, who is this guy? I see him at all these shows, like out here with his gimbal. And later on, I heard about Happy Monday, and he was like, he was a part of Happy Monday. I forgot, someone told me. And so in September, I kept up. I had followed you guys on Instagram, and then kept up with you guys. And then February of 2019, I remember I went on your website, looked for the contact info, and it was Humay's email, and I just reached out cold. It was a cold email. I linked my portfolio, sent an email, and you guys thankfully responded. So forever grateful.
Yeah. No, and then we've worked on some really awesome projects together since, like in Miami, shooting fashion, shooting Swim Week in Miami, flying the drone over those shows.
Crazy.
In LA, when we were doing local natives, we shot this whole mini documentary with local natives that Saul came through and did drone shots for. And then the time we almost got arrested in Nashville. You want to tell the story of what happened in Nashville with the drones and the cops?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So we were on a shoot for Spotify. They were launching the Hot Country Instagram account, and it was at this bar venue that was really cool. And I remember it was the first day, literally the first 30 minutes of being at the venue. I show up and Atif is like, oh, like maybe you should go fly the drone up on the roof. Like there's a cool rooftop, like go get some perspective. There was a whole festival outside, a large crowd.
Money shots.
Yeah, just go get the shot, dude. Like you got it. And then I was like, all right, cool. Yeah, like I've been flying drones forever. Like I have my license and everything, but you know, one of the guidelines is to not fly over large crowds. Don't fly if you don't have permits, or don't fly like in a downtown area. So I decided to break all those
rules.
The
things we ignored.
Yeah, so I decided to break those rules because, you know, I figured, you know, it's for the shot. You know, you got to do anything for the shot. Anyways, Go up to the rooftop and trying to take off this drone. I fly probably in the air for 5 minutes, and this big security guard, like I'm focusing on my phone, and this big security guard comes in, just stands next to me, and I look over, and he's like, "Bring that drone back." And I'm like, "Oh,
wait,
man."
is it a security guard or the police?
So at this point, it was a security guard, but he was on the walkie. Oh. Yeah, it was like the venue. It was the venue security guard, but he was on a walkie with a police officer. So as I'm flying it back, like three or four police officers come up to the roof, and I'm flying the drone back, and I land it. And I'm just like, I'm super calm. Like, I'm just like, all right, well, whatever's going to happen is going to happen at this point. So yeah, the cops, they take a photo of me individually, of me holding my drone, a photo of me holding my ID, and a photo of me and my ID, and just my ID. But they just gave me a warning. But like a couple weeks later, I got a phone call from the Nashville or Tennessee FAA. And they were like, yeah, like, you know, this time is just a warning, but if you ever get caught again, it's a $250,000 fine. So
which is a crazy amount of money, like $250,000. That's just too ridiculous. Like, how would anyone be able to survive?
Yeah, it was just like
with that loss. That's just crazy.
It was just
and the wildest thing for me is that, like, you were flying the drone on the top of this building in the middle of a very packed street, in the middle of like the main strip. Yeah. I have no idea to this day, like, how they knew that you were on top of that building, because you could have been on any building on that street. Yeah. I feel like they have some technology that tells them, like, hey, here's where the drone guy is.
Yeah, some sort of radar sensor or whatever it may be. Who knows? But I mean, yeah, it was wild. And then in LA, when we were on that local native shoot, they, like, the LAPD helipad was like 500 yards away or something like that. So they were like, yeah, you can get a couple shots really quickly, but don't test it. And I was like, you know what? I've already gone through I've already gone through Nashville, so I'm not gonna worry about it too much. Wow. But I love flying drones. It's not going to stop me, you know. I'll just fly with more caution.
Yeah, I know that didn't stop us. We just went a little harder after that, actually, on drones.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I have another question about style and visual voice. Like, I you know, just like every artist, musician looks for their sound. How do you think about your visual voice? Like, how do you think about your personal style?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think earlier on, just like every creative photographer, videographer, whatever it may be, you're usually copying someone, right? You see someone's work and you're like, oh, this is really cool to me. Like, I want to do that exact same thing. So I think early on, I was just copying Roy Kramer, Casey Neistat, and following sort of their tutorials and steps, right? But I learned ways to add my own flair, my own style, my own technique. That made it unique to me, right? At the same time, I still feel like your style and your visual presentation is an ongoing development. I don't think you're necessarily ever done. I think it's something that evolves over the years, just as you do, right? Your preferences, your attitude towards things change, and your visuals are going to change with it. Currently, I feel like I'm in a state of just like, I enjoy documenting. I enjoy making people feel like they're in the moment with not too many bells and whistles. Like I feel like that's where, I feel like that's where I'm currently at with it. I'm sure 5 years from now it'll change. Next year it'll change. So we'll see.
I hope it does.
Yeah.
I hope that everyone who's a creator and artist, that their style and their voice evolves and that they're continuing to grow. I think if the video, like the band video I just showed, if all your work still look like that, like what's the fucking point? You're just working fucking finance.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think many people would have hired me if my work still looked like that. So it changes.
There's a question in the chat. I think you just kind of answered that, but do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, so I think I kind of touched upon it, but I think something I left out, I try to have or establish at least a little bit of a rapport with whoever the subject is that I'm shooting, just because photographing or capturing someone is such an intimate moment. And a lot of these people that we work with are, celebrities, influencers, they have a million cameras in their faces. But if, when we have the unique opportunity of having a couple moments with them in private where we can actually, create this vision that we have. So just being able to communicate effectively and just explain your vision for them and why it'll look good is extremely important to me. So establishing a rapport with whoever the subject is something that I've learned to do as I've gotten more confident with videography.
100% agree with that. Whether you're, like when we're shooting backstage at a fashion show, there's so many, often there's a lot of celebrities there, and often there's models there that are supermodels, right? Like big name models there. And I always find that just going up to them and shaking their hand and introducing yourself, being like, hey, I'm Saul, like I'm shooting some content for Vogue.com, whatever. It definitely helps with people feeling a lot more comfortable. It's not just another camera in your face. I feel like, when photography wasn't as prevalent, when it wasn't on everyone's phone, when there wasn't a camera on everyone's phone, I think the etiquette was, if you're going to photograph somebody, you should ask them. It's like, it's almost like an invasion of their privacy, of their space, to just like snap a photo and keep it moving. Yeah. And when I first started in fashion, I was really baffled by that. I was like amazed that photographers were literally just like and then keep it moving. I was like, that's so rude. After that, I was just like, you know what? I don't have to do it the same way these people are doing it. Like I can come in with my own method. And after that, I started introducing myself and just saying hi, hello, before I started shoving a camera in their face. Like it's not the way.
Sometimes, granted, you don't have time to do that, right? Like there could be rushing hair and makeup, whatever it may be.
Yeah, but you could do it with your eyes. You could do it with your eyes and your hands. Like you don't have to like go up to them and be like, hey, you can just kind of just wave and put a camera up and be like, they understand that. They're not idiots.
Exactly. Yeah. But there's still so many people still don't do that. So whenever whoever's watching this, you're backstage or you're going to photograph anyone, just say hello, introduce yourself. It'll go a long way.
All right, we got another question in the chat. Here it is. Who is someone that you want to work with, or what brands would you like to create content for?
Yeah, so that's my friend Carrie. That's my friend Carrie. What's up, Carrie?
What's up, Carrie?
Yeah, so I mentioned it earlier, but I would love to work with Kanye. I think it'd be awesome to be like his personal documentary.
Still, and even while he's on Jesus mode?
Even when he's on Jesus mode, I think for me, like Kanye means a lot for me just creatively. Like he has been my creative inspiration since I was a child. Like Graduation, My Dark, Beautiful, Twisted Fantasy, like all those album 808s, like just the visuals and the chord progressions and the music. It was just my biggest influence. And I think that helped me think of like how music can impact visuals and what you can make things look like and how vibes are connected and created, which sounds super vague, but it makes sense in my head. So yeah, Kanye was just a really big inspiration for me earlier on. So that's why I want to work with him. Now, like I also love Travis Scott. It'd be cool to work with Travis Scott. Virgil Abloh, that'd be dope.
Virgil.
I'm clearly just on the Kanye umbrella, but yeah, those are the top three right now.
What about brands, not people? What about other brands, that like companies?
Yeah, I think shooting with like Louis Vuitton or like a big fashion house.
That's would be Virgil, bro. That's just you try to work with Virgil.
It could be women's though. Virgil doesn't do women, so he could do that. But yeah, just like one of these big fashion houses would be cool. I shot like the Louis Vuitton runway women's last September, so that was just a really cool experience to begin with. So that kind of
no big deal.
That checks something off my bucket list. But it'd be cool to develop a campaign with them. But yeah, or like Frosted Flakes. I think it'd be cool to shoot stuff with Frosted Flakes.
Whoa, all right.
I love Frosted Flakes, so that'd be dope. So yeah, Frosted Flakes, hit me up.
One of the things that I would love to kind of talk to you about, just because we're all in this situation now, is how you're dealing with the pandemic and how you're kind of positioning yourself and what you're doing and how you're spending your time. There's two schools of thought right now. One school of thought is like, we have this rare once in a lifetime opportunity as freelancers, as creators, as artists, to really work on ourselves, work on our vision, take this time to create something bold and new and everything that we've always talked about or wanted to and always said that we don't have time for that. Well, now's the time, right? So that's one school of thought. And there's this other school of thought that's like, this is a really difficult time. This is mentally really challenging. This is not the time to guilt yourself or push yourself to do something that can be detrimental. And this is really a time for self-care and to do what you need to do, but also spend some time just working on yourself, not just working on work. So where do you fall in that spectrum?
Yeah, so I definitely don't subscribe to the idea that if you come out of this quarantine and not have developed new skill and a new whatever, learned a new language, like you failed. Like, you know, this can be a very stressful time for a lot of people. For me, like if I feel like editing or shooting one day, like I'm going to do it. But if I don't another day, then I'm just not, you know what I mean? I lost 2 big gigs. They were going to be like 2 of the biggest gigs that I had in my career up to this point.
Can you say which one?
One was going to be at South by Southwest. I was shooting an event for my friend's clothing company, and she was collaborating with like Pinterest and Amazon Music. So that was going to be really dope.
Yeah, and that dope. We're all going to be there.
Yeah, I was talking to Ronnie, and I knew you guys were going to be there. So that was going to be cool. And then I was scheduled to shoot a party for Coachella. So that was going to be amazing too. I always told myself I would go to Coachella when I got the opportunity to work there. And this was going to be the year, you know. So I was really bummed about that. And yeah, combined, that was like almost $8,000 that I lost out on. Luckily, like I still had get little editing jobs here and there. So I've been still working. But outside of that, you know, I've been trying to hone in on my editing skills. Editing is not something that I really enjoy doing, but I'm just trying to get better at it. You know, everyone on Instagram and social media, like you see their edits and they're fine. They're doing all these new things. So I'm just trying to keep up. You know, I need to evolve with the time. So I'm just trying to learn a couple things here and there and develop a couple new editing techniques. So yeah, you know, I'm just trying to not put too much pressure on myself to do something just because social media or people on Instagram tell me to, but doing it if I want to and not doing it if I don't want to.
I mean, that's a fortunate position to be in. So Absolutely. how do you think about it from like a financial perspective? Like, were you, you know, like one of the things that people tell us as soon as we decide to become content creators or freelancers, like contractors, is that you need to have 3 months worth of expenses in your bank account if you want to position yourself as a freelancer, because the work comes in waves. You know, like sometimes work is hot. Sometimes like you can go 2-3 months without any work. Like, and when I was starting out, people would be like, you need to have 3 months worth of expenses saved up at the minimum. And really you should have 6 months.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's a good point. I definitely am speaking from a place of privilege. I have very minimal expenses, luckily. And yeah, I've been a full-time freelance videographer for 2 years now. And I just got to a point where, you know, I have like a decent amount of savings account, a Roth IRA, like a 401k that I've like opened up. So I have money in there that I've, you know,
damn, the finance bro in you.
Hey, you got to stay up to date. But yeah, aside from that,
well, I mean, these are things that artists and creators in the space don't even know. Like, I rarely meet anyone who's like, yeah, I'm putting away money in my RIA. Like,
yeah,
no
exactly.
One
and I mean, I'm not the most well-versed person, but I have like a financial manager who does everything for me. So I have a guy, yeah. So if anyone needs a guy, hit me up and I can connect you. But yeah, like what I was getting at was, you know, I have very minimal expenses. Like I still live at my mom's house just because last year I was gone for 9 months traveling. So I didn't feel the need to like move out or, you know, pay for an apartment. And so, yeah, luckily I don't have rent that I have to pay for and just have very minimal expenses. And I'm on retainer with a client just editing. So I have consistent cash flow that's still coming in. So yeah, it's a place of privilege. Not everyone is there. I understand that. So yeah, my situation is just very unique. But yeah, it's difficult because I know a lot of other creatives who are my friends who, you know, they lost work. Right? You guys had a lot of work canceled too, you know. But you know, if you have savings, you know, on the side, then that's good. But I know a lot of people don't, unfortunately.
Yo, so we got an awesome question in the chat. I actually love this question, and I'd love to hear your response to it because I think about this a lot. This is something that comes up constantly within my brain. How has your work and all the traveling affected your personal relationships?
That is an amazing question, and that's my friend Brian. So what's up, Brian?
Damn, a lot of your friends up in this.
Hey, dude, I try to bring the audience. You know what I
Yo,
mean?
you got friends.
Yeah, I do have friends. You know, I'm a pretty popular
Man,
guy.
that's friends.
I really not. Really, I have like 5 friends, and that's one of them. So thanks, Brian, for watching. It's extremely difficult. Like I mentioned, last year was really what the year for me where projects really started getting crazy. And like I mentioned, I was traveling 9 months out of the year. I was only in LA for 3 months, and I tried to, you know, just reach out constantly, just sending a message here just to let them know that I thought about them today. Like I do that even with Brian. Like I text him every once in a while when we haven't talked for a long time, and I'm like, hey, I thought about you today because I did. And I just want to say what's up, you know. Yeah, you're either with people who do what you do and you guys spend all your time together, or you're kind of just not. The people that aren't in your industry, it's really difficult to see them just because your hours are crazy. Sometimes I work on the weekends, I work nights. It's hard. I can't really plan too far ahead because, you know, I could say like, hey, I'm going to go on vacation this day, but then you guys could hit me up and be like, hey, we have the shoot with so and so tomorrow. Like, are you down? And I'm going to say yes. You know what I mean? So it's really hard to just like plan things out too far in ahead, and I'm sure you're well aware. I'm sure you're well aware of that too.
So this is probably the biggest challenge I face. I think I like said this on Twitter a couple of days ago that the more your career excels, the smaller your social circle gets, but oddly, you know more people. Like you know more people, and your social circle is smaller. It's like, you know, I think what starts to happen is that most people you know end up being people that you work with in some capacity. I feel like I've lost a lot of friends. I've lost touch with a lot of people. If I wasn't married to Hame before all this began to pop off, like probably wouldn't be married and be single right now.
Yeah.
But that's just the nature of choosing this life. I think that there's a lot of these misconceptions on you're a freelancer, you must have so much control of your time, you make your own schedule, like this is the good life, I wish I had that life. And before COVID hit, before this pandemic, people saw the glory of it all, right? Like people saw all the highlight moments, the good parts. When the pandemic hit is when you see the flip side of things, like the things that you have to experience because you don't have job security, because you don't have health insurance through a company, because there's no structure to your schedule. Like there's so much that you have to deal with, I think. Here's another question we got in the chat. In what ways do you think this pandemic will change your industry and the way you create content? Ryan, probably another one of your friends.
Ryan is one of my.
Shout out Ryan.
A lot of our work is event based, so obviously that's not.
So it's not how it will change, how it has changed. You know, like it's already changed. The game's already changed.
It's already changing. Yeah, everything's becoming virtual. I mean, we just saw that Travis Scott Fortnite concert. Like everything's just becoming digital. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think we're just transitioning to a even more digital space where everything's just done remotely. You know, but I know you've been working with like on live streaming and figuring out different ways to Instagram live. Exactly. Yeah. So this is a perfect example. You know, I think live streaming is going to be even a bigger wave than it already is, and we've already begun to see that impact.
100%. Like if you kind of stay in tune with social, you've seen that live streaming has been the MVP, the social media MVP during this pandemic, and it's really created a lot of opportunity for people to broadcast their talents and their skill sets. And every single brand, every single company that has canceled an event that we were supposed to shoot is talking to us about how can we convert that experience into some sort of digital activation. You know, that same idea of like this meeting could have been a phone call, or this meeting could have been an email. That idea will translate into many other things. This activation could have been a live. This whole concert could have been live. We have one last question that we're gonna answer, and this is a great question to end on. Okay, here's the last question.
What's the end goal? So for me, and I probably should have talked about this earlier in the stream, but one of my goals, and my career, and I will die happy if this happens. I just really want to create and win an Oscar for a short documentary. I love the genre. I love the art form. I love just the narrative storytelling of a subject that like really matters, that's making an impact on life. So yeah, my goal is just to win an Oscar for a short documentary. It's something that I really want to do. You know, maybe I don't even have to win it, but I just want to create like a really impactful short documentary down the line, something that tells the story of an underrepresented, you know, minority group or person, whatever it may be, just shed light on a story that we've never heard before. That's sort of, you know, my end goal. And if I do that, I can die happy.
Dope. That was great, man. Thank you so much for taking the time out and having this conversation with us and sharing your insights and the journey and the path you were on. Follow Saul Lopez, 1L, not 2Ls. Follow Happy Monday on Instagram, which is just Happy Monday. And then you can follow me on Instagram as well, which is just ATIF. Saul, thank you again. We'll keep this conversation going with you. Hopefully we can bring you back, and then soon we'll be in LA. We'll do another one of these. We'll make a vlog or something.
That'd be epic. I just want to thank you again for setting all this up. I'm sure it took a lot of work to even get this going. So I appreciate you for having me as your first guest. Honestly, a privilege. I'm very lucky to do so. So thank you. All right, man.
Good luck. We'll talk soon. Later.
Right. Later.
And I'm really psyched about this because we really, you know, like if you're following me or following Happy Monday, you've seen that we've really doubled down on live stream over the past few weeks. I really, you know, love this kind of immediate connection that we can create with an audience. Thank you for tuning in. Peace out, everybody.